Hello and welcome back to the Linux Panic YouTube channel. This is video 6 of my Linux from Scratch stable LFS version 11.2 series. Now, where we left off in the previous video, we had just finished off chapter 8 and we're now moving on to chapter 9, setting up the system configuration. So the first thing we need to do, clear our terminal, go into the introduction. This goes over the advantages and disadvantages of System V here, and there is one more script that we need to get sorted out. It's the boot scripts. So what we need to do, we need to go back into the sources directory, r-xvf sources, boot scripts, LFS boot scripts, cd into LFS boot scripts, and then just make install that. Leave the directory, remove the directory. That's the final boot script we need to do. So now that we are in the correct directory, as we can see here, all of our stuff again clear. We need to go over the process of handling and the such. This is just explaining how things are handled. Again, this is something you can read at your own leisure. But there are a few things we need to do, such as the networking. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a custom UDEV rule. In this case, it's the networking rules. Then we need to see this file. As we can see at the minute, there is currently no such file or directory that has created, which is not ideal. But the naming scheme can be customized by creating a custom UDEV's rule. The script has been included. That generates source is just setting up custom names for your networking interfaces later on. So we want to clear the screen and then just do this. So what this is just listing is the block devices for the HDD. So for example, the storage device, it sees as a HDD. It's just going through and saying, hey, look, I couldn't list it, but here's all the blocks that are here. Now, as we saw earlier on, we were looking for persistent net rules. As we can see here, we don't have persistent net rules. We have touchpad.rules. So what we would be looking for is persistent net rules or something like net description.rules. So do cat/etc/rules.d/70-net-description. Okay, net. I hope I could spell. Let's just copy it. It's 75 net description.rules. 75 net. As we can see here, it's in user instead of etc. Okay, let's just copy this and just cat. So as we can see here, it's working now, but what we can find is not the networking device that we were looking for. So ideally, we want to do LSP. Okay, so list our block devices. As we can see here, all of this is set correctly. And we have a SR0, which would be our disk drive in this case, or as we can see here, it's ROM to IPA. As we can currently see, our networking device is ENP1S0, and we can keep an eye on that one for later. We are going to have to keep an eye on that one for later. So, as we scroll down, we got CD-ROM system links, which are needed for some bits of software, such as media players that are available in the Beyond Linux from Scratch section. But in this case, important external devices, for example, a USB connected disk drive, will not use by path persistence because each time a new device is plugged in, its physical path has changed, so that's why it doesn't do that. All externally connected devices will have this problem if your UDEV rules recognize them by the physical path. So we aren't going to do that, but if you wish to see the values of the UDEV scripts that we'll then use, we'll just do this and pop this in, and we're just going to go SR0. So as we can see here, it gave us the output from this file. Do that. So we asked for the output of the drive. It gives out a lot of information. So here's the rules that we were looking for earlier. And now here's the output from dev SR0, unable to open it. With return code 1, it is a QEMU DVD drive, so it can do all the speeds. But this is the drive we're using to mount this ISO and currently run from it. So this is expected, and that is correct. If we were to do SR instead of that, we do VDO, and then give us the information on the disk. As we can see here, it is a virtio2 block VDA, run dev. Everything is here that we would expect to be here. Don't click properly. Look at the lines combining and containing output of versions ID by ID path. This will use the ID serials if and not empty. Otherwise, we'll use a combination of ID model and revision. By path mode, we'll use the ID path. If the mode default is not suitable to your situation, then following modification can be made to the UDEV rules as far as follows where mode is by ID or by path. In this case, we're not going to do that. This is just dealing with duplicate devices. It's an easy drop in. Problems are, well, it says sys path not found, but that's fine. We don't have to worry about that for now. We don't need to worry about that because in my case, there is not multiple graphics. There won't be multiple graphics input. We can move on. Now, when it comes to getting networking set up, this is a bit different. As we've already confirmed, if the procedure in the previous section was not used, UDEV will assign network card interface names based on system physical characteristics such as ENP2S1. So it's the physical device and the device ID for where it's mounted in the system physically. So in my case, it's ENP1S1. Do IPA again just to confirm. ENP1S0 even. So we don't need to worry about that. But we do need to change this file once we have pasted it in. So we'll just do a clear. And because we know that the device is ENP-S01, we just change the iFace to ENP-S01. That's what we set before. ENP1S0. We'll clear this out just to make 100% sure. Just to make sure that we aren't saying the wrong thing because I've immediately forgotten what it was. So we do IPA. IPA, it is ENP1S0. We paste this in. And scroll up to the interface, ENP1S0. P10. And we will give it a static IP of 200 in this case. And the gateway is correct, and the broadcast is correct. So this is where you can set a static IP for your system if you'd like to. You will also have to change the name of the file. So in this case, it has to be ENP1S0. Scroll all the way down to the end of file and then hit enter. That way, if we do cat slash if we do ifconfig, we now have this set, and that's all. That's what we want. It's a ENP1S0 is set correctly. We don't have to worry about this now. This might not look correct, but that's because it's talking to the actual system it's connected to. We do IPA. Again, this is all set up correctly. We don't have to worry about it for now. Clear, and then just CD. And as we can see, we're back here. And now we need to create a resolve.config. In this case, we do that and we do vi/etc/resolve.conf. We don't, because in the case of not having a domain to talk to, in this case we don't, we can get rid of the domain options, and the name servers is just DNS name servers, which again is no bother. So what we can do is just put in a IP address. So in my case, I'm going to put in the cloud, both the Cloudflare's ones, so which is 1.1.1.1, and the alternate of 1.0.0.1, which is fine. And we're going to do Control-C, right quit, exclamation mark. So that's set up perfectly. So if we do @/etc/resolve.conf, that is set correctly, which is one. This here is how we set a host name. Because I would like it to be LFS, I'm just going to be LFS. You can set what host name you want, so just that's what we want. We could customize the host file if we wanted to. Deciding the IP address and fully qualified domain name and possible aliases host file, but because we're not doing that, we're not doing any customization, that's fine, but we still do have to create the hosts file. So once we've made the hosts file, we do vi/etc/hosts.conf. Hosts even, that was right. We need to change this about a bit. This is the loopback, which is fine. Because we won't be using a fully qualified domain name, we won't be needing this, we can just get rid of that. But we do have to go through the process of doing this, because our host name was previously set. If I just make 100% sure about what I'm saying before I say something wrong. So in this case, because we won't be using a fully qualified domain name, we don't have to worry about the fully qualified domain name. This can be a bit, it can throw you off a bit because it says all fully qualified domain name, and trying to figure it out, that can most certainly throw you off a bit, which is something worth noting, that it's not needed because you don't have a domain. So when you're ready, it is going through the process of, this would be the loopback address here. These are the IP6 loopback addresses. Because we won't be using IP loopback, we can just get rid of the line. Get rid of the line. We go through the process of this. That's the IP6 options. Because we're not using them, that's fine. But this part here would be how you'd recognize this. And because we've already set the IP address, we set that already. That's for the network adapter. And because we've already set the host name and we don't have a domain, all it would just be as simple as setting LFS, and then we can get rid of the host name because we don't have a host name, and get rid of the aliases, and this is set correct. We don't have to worry about that. Just close the file, right quit, and that's our hosts set. Now we go to the configuration of system v init. In this case, it's just during kernel initialization, the first program that is run is specified on the command line or by default using init. So that's what this is. It's just simple as copy this, paste this in, problem solved. Changing the run levels, just going through the process of start, stop, restart, reload status. So stuff we all know, stuff that we have to use when it comes to running files. So for example, systemctl status SSH. That would be an example. Configuring system clock, in my case, because this is a system that does have Windows on it. Well, this system won't have Windows on it. If you had Windows on your system, you would have to change this. So it's etc sysbig /clock. You would have to change this UTC to 0, but because this virtual machine won't have Windows on it, it's just be by itself, I can leave that at 1. That is fine. Set this to any options you might need to have. Might need to give to the hardware clock, such as a marine hardware clock type for alphas, machine hardware clock for alphas. That's fine. I can just leave this alone and move on to the next section. The clock parameters and UTC parameters can also be set in system config rc.site. That's fine. Now, here comes the part where we need to set up our key map and key font. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using, I'm going to tell it to use a UK keyboard and key map. So, what we want to do is paste in the Polish one, change it to our needs. So, what we need to do vi/etc/sysconfig/console, and we get this option. Now, because I'm going to be using a UK key map, we need to change this PL to a UK, and this needs to be Latin 2-16-M with the ISO of 8859-1. The -2 is for Eastern Europe, -1 is for Western Europe. Just because it's because I'm saying, hey, look, use a UK key map. That's fine. What we're going to do here is add log level equals 3. So this is just saying, hey, look, only give information on severe and or fatal issues with the system in the console, so we don't have to worry about getting all the information at any one time. So again, we just Control C, right quit, leave that, and the RC site file. Even though all of this is in italics or all this is bold, we don't actually need to change anything here. Let's just make this file as is. The RC site file is in the system as default anyway, and we can confirm that by just doing cat/etc/sysconfig config/rc.site. As we can see, it's already there. We don't need to worry about it. And all of this is hashed off anyway, so that's fine. It's not actually active, but it is there. We don't have to worry about that. This section is for getting the shell started up, so we need to find out our locale. So we need to do locale-a. These are the locales in the system. We need to find out the character map, as well as the key map and the such. So what we need to do, it says some options here. So what we need to do is we need to do LC all locale. In my case would be EN US, followed by locale character map or char map. So in this case it is ISO 8859-1. We change char map for language. Help if I can spell language correctly, so LANGUAG, language, American English, and we can then ask for the international currency symbol, which would be the USD, and then prefix, which is just dialing code. International prefix, dialing code. So for the ISO we want, which is this, we are going to have to set this here. So how to do that? We copy this, paste this, and we'll set this here. So the language that we want is EN US, and the character map is 88591. 88591. And just to make 100% sure, I'm going to check my notes. I'm just going to double check my notes to make sure that I'm saying the correct thing. But that would be 88591.ISO, but I will confirm with my notes. me a moment just to check on my notes. So now that I've just confirmed with my notes, it is not 88591, it is ISO -8859-1. In this case, because I'm not needing modifiers, we can just get rid of the modifiers and hit enter. And if we do vi/etc/profile, we have our profile set. So this is going to expect use language English US with the ISO standard of 88591, 8859-1. So we want to just leave the terminal, clear the terminal, and move on to creating our input.rc. So this is just for terminal usage and getting the terminal sorted out and any customization we want to add to the terminal. Because I don't want to, we're just going to paste this in and we have a working terminal usage method. This does have options for console and xterm for if we do install them, it's there ready and waiting for us. And the available shells file, because we've only got one shell and a hard link, we just copy this, paste this in, drop it in, and that's that. This is the end of chapter 9 of the stable LFS 11 version 11.2 Linux from Scratch book. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, maybe consider liking and subscribing. Hope you have a good rest of your day.